So if you want to move data from any source to target, right, you need all these components, guys. Okay, in a data factory, once you start working in a real time, you need to create a pipelines using these activities. These are all basic building blocks of Azure Data Factory service in cloud. Okay, linked service is nothing but establish a connection to your source. Data set is nothing but where you want to read the file, right? So you need to create a link service for source, at the same time target also, right? Target where you need to ingest the data, where you need to load the data, right? Once you have picked the data from your laptop and you need to move the data to the cloud, right? So both the sides you have to create a linked service to establish a connection to source, and you need to create a data set where you need to read the file from your source, and at the same time target side also you need to create a same linked service and same data set, but target system will change, right? So maybe you want to use cloud data lake storage gen 2, right? Or database or data warehouse, whatever it is, you need to use a different connector, and you need to create a same kind of a link service, and you need to specify the credentials to connect to that respective target system, right? And you need to use a couple of activities and how these activities are organized, right? So when we should use lookup activity, when we should use get metadata. I just mentioned here copy activity. Copy activity is just for data movement activity, right? Data movement from your source to target, whether it is your laptop, whether it is a blob storage, cloud-based storage, to another cloud-based storage, whether it is an on-prem SQL server, whether it is an SAP system, whether it is a mainframes, whether it is a NoSQL database, whether it is SFTP server, whether it is FTP server, whether it is SharePoint, n number of source systems, almost 90 plus connectors currently Azure Data Factory service is supporting. Okay, Azure Data Factory just an ETL service. Okay, you can extract the data from the source system and load the data initially, transform the data as per your business requirement, and load the data finally into maybe one of a cloud storage. Okay, you can move the data from cloud to on premises, and you can move the data from on premises to cloud, and you can also move the data from cloud to cloud. Again I'm saying, guys, okay, you can move the data from on premises to cloud, cloud to cloud, and cloud to on premises as well. Okay, so we will see how you can move the data, okay, from on premises to cloud. We can see how you can move the data from cloud to cloud, right? You can also see that how you can move the data from cloud to on premises. Okay, so if you know this concept, you can understand, you will get the overview. Okay, what is Azure Data Factory, you will get complete overview on that. You can just correlate everyday sessions, that's it. Okay, only thing you need to remember, these four components are basic components, are basic building blocks of Azure Data Factory service, where you need to build your pipeline. Okay, what is the pipeline is nothing but logical grouping of activities. Okay, so for every you can create a pipeline. Inside a pipeline you can use couple of activities like copy activity. If I want to copy data from my source system to target, and I need to use this linked service and data set. First, I need to connect to that source system. Then I need to create a data set for reading the file from respective source. Okay, data set is nothing but when you try to read something from your source system, you need to create this data set. Okay, so with any kind of source system, you need to create a data set. Okay, so linked service nothing but connection string, connection established to the source. Without connection, how you can I mean connect to the source system? You cannot, right? So that's what we can use a linked service. Okay, terminology wise, when you start practicing, when you start I mean do everyday practical sessions, you can habituate with the terms linked service, data set, activity, pipeline. These are all basic building blocks of Azure Data Factory. Okay, so pipeline. So I also mentioned that I'll share this PPT. Okay, to everyone. A pipeline is a logical grouping of activities that together perform a task. Okay, a pipeline is a logical grouping of activities that together perform a task, and a data factory can have one or more pipelines, guys. Okay, so a data factory can have one or more pipelines, and the activities in a pipeline define actions to perform on your data. Okay, so pipeline is nothing but logical grouping of activities, and we have couple of activities in a pipeline. Not only copy activity, we have, as I mentioned, we have get metadata, set variable, append variable. We have for each activity we have validation activity, we have copy activity, we have delete activity, data flow activity, notebook activity. Like we have switch activity, web activity, webhook activity. Like we have different kinds of activities. Okay, all these activities we'll discuss. Okay, so because there are many activities we can use in real time, guys. Execute pipeline activity, right? So because some of the questions, guys, and definitely they will ask an interview point of view. Okay, so how you need to build a pipeline, what are all the components are associated with Azure Data Factory. These are all basic questions they'll ask, guys. Okay, in interview point of view, they will definitely ask these kinds of questions. What are all the basic components are associated with Azure Data Factory? Linked services, data sets, pipelines, activities. You have to explain this. Okay, what is link service? Also they'll ask. Link service is nothing but establish a connection to your source and target. What is data set? Data set is nothing but where you want to, if I want to read something from the source, I can create a data set. Nothing but data structure. Okay, so where you need to refer the files, where you need to read the file from your respective source, and you also need to create a data set for target or link service. You also need to create to establish a connection to target, and then you have to write something, right? For that you need to create a data set. Okay, and you can specify the path where you need to ingest the data, right? So for that also you need to create another data set for a target side. So that is what an I mean Azure Data Factory pipeline implementation. Okay, so we'll see practically how you need to create a pipeline step by step process. Okay, so once I start explaining everything, guys, you can create any pipeline. That's my assurance. You can create any pipelines in real time. Okay, as a data factory engineer, you should aware all these things. Okay, so the same steps, guys, I'll explain all this more in depth about the copy activity. Okay, how you can handle that many source systems going forward. So next is activities. Activity is nothing but an action or processing step, right? That's what I have mentioned. So we have copy activities. So basically, guys, we have three types of activities. We have data movement activity like copy activity. We have data transformation activities like we have a jar, Python. We have a data flow, notebook. Guys, can you go on mute, please? Hello, guys, can you go on mute, please? Yeah, thank you. So basically data factory supports three types of activities: data movement activities, control flow activities, and data transformation activities. What is data movement activity? Copy activity is a data movement activity. Okay, and data transformation activity, we have notebook activity, we have data flow activity, we have jar, Python script, custom batch. We have different kinds of transformation activities, and we also have a control flow activities like for each, right? Is a control flow activity. So we'll use these activities, guys, going forward in our pipelines, and how you need to build dynamic kind of pipelines in real time, right? So you can clearly understand each and every activity more in depth, because you should aware each and every activity more in depth, guys. Okay, and we'll also discuss about the real-time scenarios are associated with each activity, right? Each activity, because many people don't know who is working on a real time, guys. Believe me, once you start working after this course, there are lot of things I'm going to cover more in depth about the performance optimization techniques, and how you need to troubleshoot the issues if you face any issue in a data factory, how you need to handle the error handling. We'll discuss all these things, guys. So because these are all the questions in real time, you will experience. At the same time, in interview point of view, they'll definitely ask. In interview point of view, they'll definitely ask. That is the reason I'm trying to insist more on this session itself, guys. What kind of interview question they'll ask in interview point of view. So I'll also insist those questions as well when start explaining about the topic. Okay, so this is an activity, and we will see that data sets. So try to understand at a very high level, guys, but once you start experience in the practical sessions, you'll automatically understand more in depth about each and every topic. Okay, so data sets identify the data, right? Just want to read the data within a different data stores, such as it might be a database where you should be able to represent the data in the form of tables, right? And we also have files means maybe an SFTP system you want to read, right? So SFTP where you need to organize in the form of files, right? So folders, you may want to read the folders from your file system, or documents, right? You may want to read the documents from maybe an SharePoint, right? So all these kinds of different kinds of formats, right? The data would be in a table format, the data would be in a file format, the data would be in a folder format, the data would be in documents, even the data would be an image, audio, video, streaming, sensor. There might be log data, there might be n number of formats we have, right? So you can read the data from any kind of source system, and we have it supports a different file formats, right? So we have different file formats, right? You know that we have Excel format, we have XML format. Many people heard these terms, XML, Excel, right? And we also have a Parquet with a snappy compression, we have ORC format, we have Avro format. These are all different kinds of file formats. Okay, so we will discuss what kind of formats ADF supports, right? So how you need to process structured data, semi-structured data, unstructured data using Azure Data Factory service. Okay, we'll discuss that. Before you need to create a data set, always need to create a link service. Without creating a link service, you cannot go to create a data set. Okay, so if you start creating a data set, still we have an option where you need to create a link service. Okay, so without creating a link service, without establishing a connection to source, right? How you can read the file? You cannot read, right? So that's what I'm trying to explain. So you always need, your first step always need to create a link service to establish a connection, right? Your second step always need to your second step need to create a data set where you need to read the file from your respective source, right? So obviously third step you need to create another link service, and for a target as well, right? So even data set for writing the files. So link service are much like connection strings, which defines the connection information needed for data factory, and to connect to external resources. Okay, and here is a sample scenario to copy data from blob storage. Blob storage is nothing but it's a cloud storage, guys. It's a cloud storage. Okay, so to SQL database, both are cloud storages. If you want to copy data from blob storage to SQL DB, you can create a two link services. One is for Azure storage, another one is Azure SQL database, right? So you need to create, if you want to move data from blob storage to SQL DB, I need to create a two different link services, one for source, one for target, right? So Azure storage, I have to create a link service to establish a connection. At the same time, I have to create another link service for target as well, right? So target is Azure SQL database, right? So let's discuss about architecture. Okay, Azure Data Factory architecture. So many people, guys, they need to understand this architecture. Okay, so it's very easy. Okay, it's very easy. So now this is a cloud, right? This is a cloud, and I have one of the service, Azure Data Factory version 2 service. Okay, so this is version 2 service, and I can create a pipeline inside a Data Factory service. I'll use a couple of activities. You can see there are some black boxes, right? I'll use, in place of that, I'll use a couple of activities. Just try to remember whatever I'm going to explain here. So just create a pipeline, and this is an SSIS package execution. You can also run SSIS packages in Azure Data Factory service. Okay, so we'll use, if you want to execute an SSIS on-premises SSIS packages, we'll discuss this SSIS package. Okay, so you need to use execute SSIS package activity in a pipeline. It's a one of the activity where you need to execute your SSIS packages. Before going to execute an SSIS packages, we have one mechanism: lift, lift and shift to Azure Data Factory. You can shift to Data Factory and you can run this SSIS packages in Azure as well. But if you want to execute an SSIS packages in Azure and Azure Data Factory, you need to create SSIS integration runtime. That's what I have explained in previous session, right? So you need to create a SSIS integration runtime. So I'll show you how you need to create this SSIS integration runtime, how many ways we can create this SSIS integration from SSIS DB, from file storage. Even you can keep all SSIS packages in file storage, and you can even run those SSIS package from Azure Data Factory as well, and you can also schedule the pipeline from Azure Data Factory. Okay, so we'll also discuss more details about this. At a high level, you can also execute an on-premises SSIS packages in Azure Data Factory service, and I can start creating a pipeline in Azure Data Factory. I can see here this is a cloud and UX and SDK. So authoring, monitoring, and management. So this is completely an orchestration service, guys. Okay, so you can do, you can monitor, you can orchestrate end-to-end process. You can extract the data, load the data, transform the data, and you can load the data finally into target machine, right? You can also schedule your pipeline, right? Once you, for example, if you want to read data from your source to target, right, you also need to schedule your pipeline, right? So for example, so what my customer requirement is at a high level, whatever we discussed till now. So I'll give a glimpse on this. So this is my source, right? So for example, this is blob storage, right? This is a cloud storage. This is one of the source, okay? And this is another is SQL database, okay? So SQL database. This is a database, okay? So I want to move, for example, I have file one, I have file two, I have file three, okay? So every day there are some files are updating in my blob storage. Okay, so today, okay, so just take it as today is 28, right? So 28, 28, okay, so 02 2023, right? So I want to move file 1, file 2, file 3. These are all with the today's date. Okay, today's date. Okay, so I have three files are uploaded in my blob storage, and I want to execute this pipeline. Okay, so using an Azure Data Factory service. So So using Azure Data Factory service, I can move data from, okay, I can move this file 1, file 2, file 3 to target. Okay, so I can connect to that target also here. I can connect to the source blob storage. Okay, so today's files I want to move file 1, file 2, file 3, and my customer requirement is here I want to execute this pipeline every day 2 p.m. UTC time zone. 2 p.m. in the sense UTC. I have to specify in a UTC time zone, guys, while scheduling the pipelines. That I'll explain what is the time difference between a UTC and IST. It's a prior 5.5 hours difference. Okay, 5.5 hours difference, UTC and IST. I'll explain clearly. I'll also show you the differences and everything once we scheduling our pipelines. Okay, so I want to schedule my pipeline every day 2 p.m. UTC time zone. Okay, this is an UTC where you need to represent while creating, while scheduling your pipeline. Okay, so we call it as a triggers. Okay, where you need to schedule your pipeline. My customer requirement, guys, every day there are some files are uploading, so I want to run this pipeline every day automatically. Okay, I don't want to run manually. I want to execute this pipeline to pick the file from my storage and load the data into target SQL DB every day. I need to automate my pipeline, right? My customer requirement, I need to execute this pipeline every day 2 p.m. UTC time zone. So here I need to specify the data, next date. Okay, so I need to specify all the list of files under this date, right? File 1, file 1, file 2 again, right? Or whatever it is, file 4, file 5, right? File 6. Okay, so I need to read these files maybe in a tomorrow. Okay, 2 p.m. same time zone. It will automatically execute it. No need to run manually, right? So you can also schedule your pipeline every day, and you can automate your workflow. Okay, you can automate your pipeline, okay, with the schedule time. Okay, so how you need to schedule your pipeline, that we can discuss. We have different kinds of triggers. We have schedule based triggers, we have tumbling window based triggers, we have event based trigger. So terminology wise bit difficult, guys, going forward. What is this trigger? Schedule trigger, and when we should use the schedule based trigger in real time. So we'll also discuss about tumbling window based trigger, when we should use this tumbling window, what scenarios we have in a real time, and how you need to set this tumbling window, we can discuss. Event based trigger, we'll also discuss about event based trigger. So when we should use an event based trigger also we can discuss. Okay, so what you need to understand, guys, this trigger concept is very very important. Many interviews they will mainly ask these questions, guys. Integration runtime is one of the concept they will definitely ask an interview point of view. And one more thing, the basic components are associated with Azure Data Factory, and how you need to create a pipelines, what are all the step-by-step process you need to follow. They will ask these questions. And the main schedulers, okay, trigger, what kind of triggers, and they will give some logical questions. I'll tell you those logical scenarios as well, guys, while explaining these triggers, while explaining the integration runtime, so that once you have started I mean experience in the interviews, you can easily answer those scenarios, because I even knows that what kind of questions they'll ask. Definitely I'll share those scenarios with you guys over the sessions, so that you can understand what is I mean this triggers, right? So integration runtime, what kind of, because these are all the scenarios you can experience in a real time once you start working. That is the reason they'll ask these questions, whether you already worked on this or you have a learning experience on this. Okay, so that is the reason I'll definitely say that what kind of questions they, what kind of scenarios they'll ask an interview point of view, so that you can habituate with us, right? So you can try to I mean practice everyday sessions, guys. Okay, so whatever I'm going to explain over the sessions, and I'll also share you the document. Okay, so all this ppts and everything for you to practice. Okay, so I can go to this. So here, guys, in this architecture, I can see here on-premises data, right? When you want to connect to any on-premises system, any private network, any virtual network, you can use this self-hosted integration runtime, guys. Okay, self-hosted integration runtime, and I can see here I have space. I have specified here separately. This is an on-premises applications and data. On-premises applications, if I want to connect, I need to install the self-hosted integration runtime in their VM where our source system is resides, or else we can also install in Azure VM. You can also take that from portal, and you can also install the self-hosted integration runtime, or else you can also maybe an on-premises also somebody from infrastructure team, they can help you to create this VM, and where you need to install the self-hosted integration runtime. Generally in a real time you no need to worry about creating this self-hosted integration runtime, but you need to understand, because your pipeline is linking with your source system, on-premises source system. If there is any difficulties connecting to your source system, maybe your integration runtime is unavailable or running limited status sometimes. I'll also show you what kind of error messages you can see in real time, how you need to resolve those. Okay, so we'll discuss that point as well once we start the self-hosted integration runtime, and how you need to share the same self-hosted integration runtime to multiple source system or multiple data factories. We'll discuss going forward. Okay, so I can also see here Azure integration runtime, right? So Azure integration runtime, guys, you can also connect. If you see here, this is also cloud, right? In white color, it's also in a cloud. If you want to move data from cloud to cloud, okay, if you want to move data from cloud to cloud, you can use this Azure integration runtime. Okay, so or if you want to connect maybe a public network, right? Maybe if you want to connect to another cloud service provider, or if you want to connect to any public network like your HTTP is one of a website is in a public network, I can even connect using Azure integration runtime only. I don't need to create a self-hosted integration runtime. Self-hosted integration runtime we can create when your source system, right? When your source system is placed in the on-premises network, because So for example, guys, one of a SQL server is in maybe in your company's on-premises network, right? Maybe you are working in a Infosys, right, or L&T. So you have your source system is placed in their data center, their own physical infrastructure. So you want to connect to their system, right? So you need to install the self-hosted integration runtime in their machines, or else you can also install this on Azure VM, and you can connect securely to your on-premises. You can connect securely to your on-premises systems, or else you can also install an Azure VM, and where you need to authenticate the key which you have generated from Azure Data Factory service, that we can discuss going forward. It's, I mean, if I can start explaining everything, you cannot understand the self-hosted. At a high level, if you want to connect to the on-premises network or any private network, you can use this self-hosted integration runtime. If you want to connect to your cloud, right, if you want to move data from cloud to cloud, right, you can use this Azure integration runtime, or any public network to cloud, you can use Azure integration runtime. Okay, so as I mentioned, guys, we discussed four components, right? We discussed till now four components. There are basic building blocks and basic components are associated with Azure Data Factory. So not only these four, guys, not only these four, I just want to add a few more components like triggers, right? Where you need to schedule your pipelines. Okay, once you have created the pipeline, you can also trigger your pipeline. Okay, so based on customer want you to execute the pipeline every day 2 p.m. UTC time zone, you can schedule. Okay, so data flow is an activity where you can do all your transformations. Okay, so you can move the data by creating the pipelines, and your customer want you to do some data transformation. Okay, so based on some aggregations, right, so you will share all this transformation part, how you need to cleansing the data, how you need to transform the data as per your business requirement. So you already aware, right? So integration runtime, it basically provides you the compute infrastructure. Compute means if I want to move data from source to target, I need some network, I need some storage, I need some memory, right? So even if you take an example, guys, if you want to move your laptop to maybe an your colleague laptop, something you want to, maybe you want to drop an email, or you want to send some data to your friend, right? So you need some network connection, right? Without the network, how you can move the data from one laptop to another? You cannot, right? So using integration runtime, it basically provides the infrastructure. Okay, compute infrastructure, it is fully managed by Microsoft only, guys. Okay, and it provides the compute infrastructure, and it is used by Azure Data Factory. Okay, so you already aware we have three types of integration runtimes. We'll discuss that each and every integration runtime. We have auto resolve by default. We'll have a self-hosted. Okay, so we have SSIS integration runtime. Sometimes we'll also create an integration runtime if our source system is resides in our managed virtual network or any private endpoint connection to securely connecting to our source system. It's a bit an advanced. So we'll also discuss that because these are all very very important. Okay. So interview point of view, they'll definitely ask, guys, integration runtime triggers, pipelines, right? Link services. So integration runtime is the compute infrastructure, and it is used by Azure Data Factory. And the following types of integration runtime available: Azure integration runtime, Azure SSIS integration runtime, and self-hosted integration runtime. Okay. So till now, guys, we discussed about we also have a triggers. Okay, triggers are used to schedule execution of pipeline. Okay, so pipelines and triggers have many to many relationship that we will discuss once we start our triggers, guys. How you need to allocate multiple pipelines to single trigger or multiple triggers to single pipeline. So we'll discuss that. Okay, so till now we discussed about what is Azure Data Factory and Azure Data Factory architecture, and what are all the components are associated with Azure Data Factory, and how you need to schedule your pipelines in Data Factory once you start creating the pipelines, right? Till now we discussed this, right? So when to use Azure Data Factory, right? So when you have a huge volume of data, when you have a big data, when you try to perform some analytics, right? So in Microsoft Azure, you can use this Azure Data Factory service, guys. Okay, so you have maybe an 100 terabytes of data, 100 GB of data, right? You have a huge volume of data. When you want to try to perform some analytics on top of the data, you can use Azure Data Factory service. Okay, because using an Azure Data Factory service, you can load huge volume of data, right? And once you have ingest the data, you can do some sort of analytics, you can do some transformation, some cleansing based on your customer requirement, right? So in those cases, you can use Azure Data Factory. Okay, that is the reason, guys, many businesses, they are moving to PaaS service, platform as a service. Okay, so Azure Data Factory is a platform as a service, guys. They don't want to worry about their infrastructure. Instead, everything is managed by Microsoft. They can focus on their data and at the same time application. Okay, they cannot focus on their underlying infrastructure, guys, because it's managed by Microsoft only. Okay, that is the reason you can see many organizations, guys, nowadays they're moving to cloud. Okay, cloud is an added advantage. Cloud is an adding a weightage to your profile, guys. Okay, so definitely you can keep update your profile. I have an experience, I mean, you can keep update your profile saying that I have 2 years of experience in Azure cloud, especially on the data engineering side. Okay, so how you need to handle the interview, guys, I'll take a session. Okay, so if you want, you can attend the session. So how you need to handle the interview. Okay, so building a modern data warehouse solution. Okay, so if you want to build a modern data warehouse solution, or you want to create some data modeling based on your requirement, and you want to execute your SSIS packages. Okay, you want to create, I mean, running an SSIS packages in Azure environment, Azure Data Factory. So why we are moving Azure SSIS packages? We already have the environment, SSIS environment, right? So on premises, right? So why we are using Azure Data Factory to run our SSIS packages, guys? There are plenty of lucrative reasons for that, guys. Okay, so the biggest reason is we no need to worry about underlying infrastructure. We can directly, they're kind of in migration, right? They're directly running on SSIS packages in Azure Data Factory. Okay, without making any changes in SSIS package, you can execute SSIS package in Azure Data Factory. Only thing you need to do here, you can use SSIS integration runtime to connect and use the execute SSIS package and specify all this information. So we'll show you what kind of information you need to specify. Okay, EDF provides the ability to run SSIS packages in Azure or build a modern ETL or ELT pipeline, and letting you access both on-premises and cloud data sources, right? So you can even connect to your cloud data sources and on-premises, both on-premises as well, both on-premises and cloud data sources, and you can execute this SSIS packages. Okay, so that's the beauty, guys. You can connect to the on-premises systems and you can connect to cloud data sources as well. Okay, to run your SSIS packages in Azure Data Factory. This is one of the biggest feature, guys, Microsoft added in Azure Data Factory version 2. We don't have this feature exist in version 1. There are a lot of limitations, guys, while they were creating this service initial stages, and they were deprecated the version 1 and they released as a new Data Factory version 2. Okay, deprecated means they deleted the service version 1. Migrating or copying data from physical server to the cloud or from non-Azure cloud to Azure. Okay, so maybe you want to copy data, as I mentioned, maybe an on-premises systems or cloud to cloud data movement, right? It might be a data lake gen 2, it might be a blob storage. Both are cloud storages. We have not created, I have not explained anything related to this storages. I'll explain the storages. Okay, no worries. Just high level, try to remember blob or data lake storage gen 2, SQL, Cosmos DB. So ADF can be used to migrate both structured and binary data. So binary data, structured data, everybody knows that CSV table, right? So all these are structured kind of data. When it comes to unstructured, when it comes to binary data, they are kind of an unstructured kind of like log data, audio files, video files, right? Image, all these are comes under documents. All these are comes under unstructured or binary data. Even if you want to process binary data, you can still do that. We have a data type, or if you have a format, a binary format where you can ingest even unstructured kind of data as well. Okay, so we'll discuss that. So this is a typical modern data warehouse solution, guys. Okay, so you have a Salesforce is another on-premises. It's a cloud. Okay, and you need to extract the data from on-premises Oracle. Okay, I have this Oracle machine on-premises, and I also have a Salesforce as another cloud, and I want to initially ingest the data using an Azure Data Factory service. So I'll use here in Azure Data Factory service to connect to Salesforce, to connect to Oracle, and I'll ingest initially into Azure Blob Storage or Data Lake, and using Databricks. Okay, using Databricks, or we have few other services also there where you need to do a transformation logic, and we'll also use machine learning for doing some analytics on top of the data, and finally load the data into SQL data warehouse. Okay, and use analysis services to analyze the data, and so we'll use Power BI and a Tableau reporting tools where you need to query the data. Okay, so how you need to query the data, how these are all visualization tools, guys. Customer, and they'll use most of the scenarios nowadays people are using Power BI, that I mean reporting tool. Okay, so the typical modern data warehouse solution, you will see practically how we can implement these solutions. So why ADF, guys? So we can discuss when we should use an Azure Data Factory, but why we should use an Azure Data Factory, because we have plenty of ETL tools in current market like Informatica, Data Stage, SSIS, Talent, right? All are ETL tools only. So why we need to use Azure Data Factory service? So it's a cost effective, guys. Okay, ADF is a serverless infrastructure and it is fully managed by Microsoft only, and billing is based on factors such as number of activities run and data movement duration. That's what I'm trying to explain, right? In on-premises, guys, in any ETL service you have to set up everything, all the infrastructure, upgrading, patching, maintenance, right? So I mean everything you have to take in care, and you should have separate data centers, right? Separate physical servers, and even security, and even if you lost the data you should replicate the data in multiple data centers across the globe, right? So all these things you have to take in care. There lot of headache is there, right? So because handling everything is bit difficult, right? That is the reason, guys, Microsoft is providing this ADF service, Azure Data Factory service. So they are moving their jobs, whatever the Informatica jobs, data stage, because we have plenty of jobs are there in all ETL services, right? Now they start migrating all their jobs to Azure Data Factory, guys. Believe me, in future you can have a plenty of opportunities on Azure Data Factory. Okay, so this migration activities, so we have plenty of opportunities, and you can easily maybe you cannot put maybe an you cannot worry about the difficulty level, guys. Okay, so when you start migrating your packages or on premises, maybe an Informatica or a data stage or any other SSIS, you can run those packages in Azure Data Factory. You can try to understand those, and you can try to move to Azure Data Factory. Okay, that is the reason, guys, and many services, many ETL services, they're moving to Azure Data Factory. And one more thing, guys. Okay, when you talk about any migration, when they're moving from Informatica to ADF, the main reason is cost, right? Cost, productivity, and performance, right? So all these scenarios customer can look into it, or any developer can look into it. So if compared to those ETL services, and so Azure Data Factory is a service where it can provide you the cost wise, performance wise, and productivity wise. So it will give better than all other ETL services in current market. Okay, so I'll give an example, guys. If you run your ETL, okay, if you are running an ETL, extract, transform, and load, extract, load, and transform pipeline, an hourly base, which also involve data movement. Okay, which also involve data movement, assuming 100 GB of data. Okay, you have a 100 GB of data in your source, and you want to move it to the target. Okay, so for 100 GB data movement per hourly run, guys, I'm talking about per hourly you want to move 100 GB of data, which should take around 8 minutes with the 200 Mbps bandwidth, guys. Okay, so 200 Mbps bandwidth only, it will take 8 minutes of time to move 100 GB of data. Okay, then ADF would bill you not more than $12 for monthly execution, guys. Okay, for monthly execution. Okay, so remember this point, guys. For every hour, if you want to run, and you can calculate, right? So 24 into so every hour you want to execute, right, for 100 GB of data, 30, right? So almost a 720 pipeline runs, right? So this is where Azure Data Factory is currently ruling the industry, guys. Okay, so it's very cost wise, productivity wise, performance wise. So it's a very good service, guys. You can I mean, now everyone is moving to Azure Data Factory and SQL storage, right? So you can experience everything going forward. Okay, cloud scale in the sense, guys, as I mentioned, it will automatically scalable. You no need to worry about scaling the resources and everything, and it will automatically scalable. And since it is a platform service, every platform as a service, the underlying infrastructure and everything is managed by Microsoft only. You can move terabytes of data to petabytes of data using an Azure Data Factory service. Okay, so how you need to move effectively. Okay, so we will see that. Okay, how you need to, maybe if you have a huge volume of files, how you can chunks the data, how you can parallelly distribute to across different systems. Okay, we'll discuss that. So security, guys. Okay, so one of the biggest concern when you try to move huge volume of data, your customer data is very precious, right, with us. So you need to taken care the data securely, right? So because they have some personal information, they have their customer personal information like credit card number, or they have their own phone numbers, email id, address, right? Everything is personal information only. You cannot showcase all this information. That is the reason, guys, while data is moving, everything is an encrypted format in Azure Data Factory, guys. Okay, so everything is an encrypted format. So how you need to handle, even when you try to moving data from source to target, you use couple of activities. For each activity, while data moving, we can call it as while data is in a transit mode, or while data is in a rest mode in the sense data is stored in the storage, right? It's an encrypted format. Okay, so you can also it can internally handle Microsoft only, guys. So remember, guys, always, since ADF almost supports 90 plus connectors and you can move data from any kind of source system. And Microsoft, what they're offering, okay, Azure Data Factory is a first party citizen to Microsoft, guys. Remember this point always. Okay, whatever the security standards they are offering for Data Factory, same set of security standards they're offering for all other 200 plus services which is offered by Microsoft. Okay, remember this point, guys. So easy interaction, ADF supports so many connectors, right? So makes it easy to interact with, because you can just specify those information. Maybe if you want to connect to SQL database, you need to specify there are different kinds of authentication. You need a connection string, you need a server name, you need database name, you need username, password. You need to specify all these things while creating this link service, right? So like this, if you want to connect to SFTP server, you need to specify SFTP host name, username, password, port number, all these things you can specify. But where you need to keep all your secure information, we have one of the service in Azure, guys. Okay, so Azure Key Vault service is one of the place where you need to keep all your credentials. Okay, so how secure when compared to the on-premises, but on-premises, if you know, right, so any Java, .NET based applications where you need to keep all our credentials in application.properties file, right? But here we no need to worry about securing our credentials. It's Key Vault service is a centralized place where you need to keep all our credentials, our certificates, our account keys, anything you can keep in Azure Key Vault service, and you can connect securely to your source system. Okay, so we have different authentication mechanisms, guys, while you are establishing a connection to your source. We'll discuss that going forward. Okay, this is very important, guys. Okay, when you are trying to connect to any source system, this is very important. Azure's Key Vault is backed up by HSM module, guys. So they are providing the security to Key Vault service, and how best they are providing the security and how they are encrypting. And even if you delete something from any key, if somebody deleted the key, you can still get back the key. You can still get back the key because the default retention period with respect to Azure Key Vault service is 90 days. Even if somebody deleted, you can still get back the key. Okay, so we'll discuss all these things going forward, guys. So we have why ADF, right? So ADF is so as I mentioned, guys, you no need to worry about code, right? It's completely code free tool. Okay, it's a visual UI authoring and a monitoring tool. it it makes you super productive, guys. Okay, it makes you super productive as you use drag and drop development. As I mentioned from starting, it's kind of a drag and drop development, and you don't need to worry about any single piece of code here. The main goal of any visual tool, the main goal of any visual tool to allow you to productive with ADF by getting pipelines up and running within a few maybe in 30 minutes, or maybe in a few minutes you can try to establish a pipeline, create a pipeline, and you can start moving data from source to target. Okay, and this is one of the biggest advantage in Azure Data Factory. SSIS package execution, you can lift and shift. You can run your SSIS packages using lift and shift and existing SSIS packages, existing SSIS workloads in on-premises. Schedule pipeline execution based on your business requirement. You can schedule your pipelines. Okay, so you can schedule your pipeline in a periodic intervals. You can schedule your pipelines every 30 minutes, every 10 minutes, every half an hour, every 1 hour, right? Every day you want to schedule, you can schedule. Every week I want to run my pipeline only weekdays, I can still schedule my pipeline. Okay, if I want to schedule my pipeline monthly, I want to run the pipeline maybe on the first of the month, 11th of the month, 22nd of the month, I can still schedule my pipeline. Okay, so how you need to schedule this pipeline we can discuss. Okay, so this is what, and why we need to use an Azure Data Factory, when we should use an Azure Data Factory. So going tomorrow onwards, guys, I'll start creating the services. We'll start practicing. Okay, we'll start tomorrow onwards. We have practical sessions, and I'll start go to the portal, and we'll start creating the services. Okay, so this is a portal, guys. This is where you need to see in a real time environment. So this is where your development kind of environment. Okay, so no need to worry about prerequisites, guys. Okay, so you should have minimum 4 GB or 6 GB or 8 GB is enough. No need to worry about the storage and everything. Only two softwares is needed where you need to install in your machine. One is Azure Storage Explorer, because these things you can experience in a real time also. Another service, another software is SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. It's a client tool where you need to connect to your database. Okay, so why we need to install this, I'll also give an example on that. Okay, so we have a query editor where it's still in a preview state, but it's very difficult to view whole data here. But in SSMS tool, we can run our queries effectively, and we can see whole data. So there are plenty of reasons, guys, why we need to use SSMS in real time. Okay, that you can experience going forward. Okay, that's it, guys. If you have any questions, please go ahead. So if you don't have any questions, guys, we'll wind up the session. So please practice. I'll share this recorded session. I'll upload in a drive, guys, day 1, day 2, day 3. So please go through from there. I'll provide an access to everyone. So please provide your email IDs in group, guys. Okay, and kindly complete all your payment process also, guys. I'll share you the details. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for all joining, and yeah, we can continue from tomorrow.